Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Wednesday, everyone. November 6, 2024. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope you're okay post-election day. Feeling safe and sound and secure and accepting of all that there is to be appreciative of in this country for what it's worth. We can find plenty of things to complain about, but there are also many things to be grateful for. So, for anyone that may particularly be feeling some sense of disappointment or even dismay, I pray that that spirit be released from you and that you find a connection to optimism. And in the spirit of my message yesterday, which I hope you will check out if you haven't already, that you really ground yourself in your own supreme self-esteem and sense of security, and in whatever source you submit to, believing and trusting that all is as it's supposed to be at this very moment, and you're fine, you're okay. As a matter of fact, not only is all well, all is bliss, if you say so. So, let's see what we got here today. Seven of Pentacles, about long-term investments, what's to look forward to, considering how you've already planted or how you've already sown, taking inventory of what has been yielded from those efforts. Generally, it's a pretty positive card, but let's see. Yeah, there's this Ace of Swords, maybe divine revelation or intel or intuition. Nah, not so much intuition. I mean, it could be. I'm struggling. I don't know why I'm resisting saying this, but telepathy is what I'm hearing. I don't know, it just seems a bit fantastical compared to this, which seems to be much more practical, but maybe there's a connection there. Tapping into a supreme source of intel that will elevate your perspective of your present moment and also the projection of the future. That's what it is. You know, like when you kind of take in the Seven of Pentacles at face value, it may seem like you only yielded one pentacle and there's still 6 left to be desired. But with this card, as I like to say, it's always about perspective. So if you're only seeing it from a very flat, linear, perspective, then it may not look like much, or it may seem like you haven't yielded much, or you haven't done much, or you've done a lot, but you haven't yielded much. May even compel you to be considerate of how much more you should invest in this thing or whatever this is, given the evidence that you presently have. However, when you have a higher perspective called into order, sometimes it may allow you to see things for more than what they appear to be in a limited 3D scope. So there's that. Yeah, here's the Chariot card about really kind of seeing the win in all things. And that being the victorious flex, you know what I mean? Well, that being the flex in general. is to kind of always see how you win, or how you have the advantage, or how you have an opportunity to advance in a successful way or in a victorious way. That means that no matter what it may look like, there's someone that has a high mind in this regard, always sees the opportunity for improvement at the very least, but advancement as well. And here's the Two of Swords. Yeah, this is that spirit of uncertainty and indecision, kind of being at a crossroads or a stalemate with a choice. But I mean, here is the Ace of Swords. So like I said, maybe this is what the earth perspective signifies, like not really knowing which way to go or what to expect, or where do we go from here, or what's coming around the corner, or what to perhaps be protective of or resistant to. But when you can raise that frequency of thought to tap into an Ace of Swords mindset with an Ace of Swords perspective, things seem to look a bit more promising, even in the dark, with the Moon card here. I mean, next to the Chariot, who is fearless and full of willpower, the Moon really poses no threat, to a warrior. You're trained, equipped, and qualified to fight day and night. Most times, especially as a decorated general such as this with the Chariot card. This is like experience and okay. I just heard experience in spiritual warfare. Wow. And this could be the weapon of choice, that telepathy, intel, that when it may seem like, you are defenseless and vulnerable, there's actually a superior source that many have access to, I'll say. Knight of Pentacles, in this case, like, you can be very tactical. Again, taking that Seven of Pentacles at one yielded, and even if it means, buckling down and strapping in or locking in for the long haul, there's a diligence to do so here, a determination, a willingness, a drive. But not just for the fast money, but to really take your time and cultivate something that truly matters and that is sustainable and dependable. So we got the Seven of Pentacles, long-term investments, and that are, I would say, maybe inspired by divine revelation, intel, or some, I would say, otherworldly or intangible channel of like insider information is what I'm sensing. To the naked eye, it looks one way with the Two of Swords, but this is what it amounts to with the Chariot. And it has a mysticism about it that, maybe even in the way that it grows, or in the way that it's perceived to advance or grow, perhaps even from the outside looking in, it gives the Knight of Pentacles energy, where it appears to be moving, slower than it actually is. But in truth, like, the Chariot is fast and it's forceful. And the Ace of Swords is unlimited knowledge and information. So that means that wherever someone has the diligence and the steadfastness to continue to sow, there's a guaranteed reaping. And that can work the other way too. I just felt that when I said reaping. So I guess it really, in this in the mysticism of this moon, I guess it really just comes down to what you're investing in, what you are sowing your time, your energy, your attention, your talents, your gifts, your qualities, even your curiosity into. Whatever it is bound to be accelerated and firmly established. And what I'm also sensing, it really is a this or a that. That's what the Two of Swords is, because depending on what you're sowing into, what you're still like hard driven and, willful to invest in, is ultimately because what I'm feeling about this now with the Knight of Pentacles is like the experience of that investment. It's not just about, it's not really about it being a slow, drawn out thing as much as it is being sustainable. That's really the thing here. So would you rather have a sustainable outcome, in this case something that's going to last you a long time, on account of something that you've been sowing in the highest frequency or in the lowest one? And that even, connects back to what I was saying in the opening about, what you're feeling at this moment, and being intentional about what emotions you allow to take charge, what sentiments you carry on with at this point. I mean, for what it's worth, at least as of now, although I'm not so sure, but at least as of now, the outlook, let's say, in terms of the outcome from the election, is at least 4 years. So you're going to be angry, disappointed, and in dismay for a whole 4 years? Or are you going to invest your time in something that is worth growing? Worth sowing and worth growing. What is it that you really want to see grow and sustain itself? Not just for these next 4 years, but everything that we've been doing in this year alone has been a major setup for even beyond that, maybe the next decade or so. So that's what I'm sensing here with this Knight of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles. You got to be very careful about the investments you're making right now, especially in the ways that you may be triggered or susceptible to manipulation, to feel, something that may not be, even subconsciously so, that may not be the most productive. With the Two of Swords, I feel like that's even giving me a maintenance of indifference at this time for anything else but the truth. So whatever that signature truth is to you, again, from a higher perspective, not just from what you see on the ground, like, oh God, here we go again, whatever. From your highest, your greatest optimistic view, your highest expectation, your greatest expectation, your best case scenario perception, you know. Here's an opportunity to sow into that and have that be the sustainable crop for however long it gets to be, but not even just sustainable, because it's a matter of advancement at hand as well. But I feel like I really need to draw the point that it can be this or that. That's the mystique about it all, because it's whatever your will, it's about how your will is driving this chariot. Whatever you say it is what it is. You have the access to higher intel, but if you choose not to tap into it, well, you know, Two of Swords, then, you know, that's your choice. But whatever it is that you tap into, whatever you invest in, whatever you sow your energy and attention into and allow it to be sown into you, is what is going to be most sustainable, perhaps. I mean, this could be 7 years, 8 years, you know. That's the reality that you are solidifying for yourself. So I'm just, you know, my suggestion is just to make it a positive one. Even if it seems, again, like that's why I was really hitting on this whole higher mind, higher vision idea, because what it looks like, you may not have any real, you know, reason to think as optimistically as you would want to. But it's not so much about the evidence or the proof of the greatest possibility. It's your will and your insistence to conceive it through your thoughts and your intentions. And everybody's certainly not going to be on that wavelength, but if you know, and you hopefully you already are there. Don't allow yourself to be distracted by the formalities and, you know, the facades. You know, you, again, as I've said yesterday, you can take charge of the reality that you experience. And it may look different from what the rest of the entire nation or world is experiencing in real time. And that's okay. All that matters is your will. And you know, for me, there's always a hint of what I do for me, I do for all. But in this case, it doesn't, you know, it's not a matter of having a strong will to force that impression on anyone else, or to even find anyone that may agree with you or see your perspective, or that can kind of corroborate your creativity. At this point, it doesn't even matter. You know, you lead better by example and allowing your results, your fruits, to speak for you. And if people are inspired by it, so be it. But if not, your reality is self-sustainable. Everyone's is, as a matter of fact, but that's the point that I'm really driving on, is that the nature and the essence of what that is quite mystical, because it's really up to each person to decide whether or not they assume that responsibility, accountability, and authority is the greatest difference between the haves and the have-nots, I believe. But for those that have and do, oh, you have great things to look forward to, and things that are going to be sustainable for a long time, or for, you know, an extended period of time, and that, you know, are something that are ultimately things that you can look forward to continuing to multiply or advance your livelihood in some way, shape, or form. But in spirit and in truth, I should say, not just in some way, shape, and form, but specifically in spirit and in truth, because of your intention for it to do so. So, exercise that power, 3 of will. It's important. Here it is, the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Wands. Very intentional, assertive, productive, and creative. Under the 2 of Swords, which is that indifference. So it's like the Queen of Wands is not going to be aroused to take any particular action that is not in alignment with her purpose. So where you could be bombarded with all types of projections and propaganda and, inferences of how other people feel, and even things on the inside, your own disappointments or own emotional, residue, so to speak. I don't know what to call it, but when it comes down to it, the Queen of Wands, who knows she has a great deal of power, is very selective about how that power is wielded, and it's for the purposes of creativity above all, in the highest frequency, of course. And then you got the King of Cups here, which right up under the Swords I love, because that's a focus on love being the most supreme truth. And if it's not, this could actually be a great like a great meter, so to speak, like a checks and balances in a way of what to allow yourself to be aroused by, or I almost said seduced, but not really seduced. It's an arousal and like an emotional, because not just arousal like in an excited or a sexual or any type of way. I don't really even mean it sexual. Arousal meaning just like enlivened, but the King of Cups is speaking about something more emotional, like revved up, or it's a word that I'm trying to find. But anyway, it could be a great checks and balances of what to look out for when you are tempering your emotional essence. Your energetic essence. Is it in alignment with my purpose? Does it affect me directly? Is it worthy of my time and energy? Is it a pure provocation of my passion? Is it even worthy of all this? Like, if I'm giving it a whole bunch of energy, it may not even be worth all that. And then this emotional attachment or connection, if it's not grounded in truth and connected to truth, then is it even worth my emotional investment or my attention, for that matter? Is it something that directly affects me, or is something that I have the capacity to be a direct effect on? Because I'm saying this because a lot of times, especially at sensitive times such as this, we are both aroused and seduced by passion and emotions that sometimes can be inflated or displaced. A lot of times it's on account of projections that are intentional to provoke responses such as that. And sometimes it's just a matter of association, because we're all sharing this energetic force field together, and we're all kind of sponging off of one another and what the consciousness grid is circulating. But sometimes, again, you have to raise your frequency above that, like lift up off the ground from the general consensus, because what everyone may be feeling and sensing at a particular time, first of all, there are multiple things going on that could have you too tapped in and tapped out in the first place. So it makes a difference to really kind of raise your frequency to consider what really is valuable, what is paramount, what is truth, what is signature to me, what affects me, what do I actually care about, having an emotional attachment to, what do I have a passion for, like am I even truly invested in this for any purposeful reason, or is it just, am I just being provoked even by pride and ego and, you know, all types of things to feel like I should be, you know. Again, this is all for the purposes of keeping a cleansed palette for what you're already manifesting and bringing into life. You wouldn't want to taint that with the spirit of the time as it is, in one way or another, because maybe you don't have a disappointment or a dismay, but it could result in some other over or hyper active emotion or passion that's not well grounded or founded. Whatever it is, I know that there's a reason. It's leading with the Two of Swords to call in indifference and a realignment with what is real, you know, what is true, what is founded, grounded and descended at the same time, which I know this is all what I'm saying is not easy work, you know, for everyone. But for those that are particularly creative in this season and have you know, a lot of seed in the ground, or have a lot of harvest to manage, now is just not the time to be distracted emotionally, or by, you know, with distorted emotions, or with impure passion. You know, like, again, you have control over what is most valuable and most meaningful for your life. So whatever, you know, distractions may threaten that contentment, you also have the liberty to decide how much leverage, if any, it has in your force field. And I guess these are just the energies to consider. And that, yeah, whole time I'm talking, and here's the Empress. Exactly, because the Empress is going to produce whatever she is ingesting. So again, being extremely fertile, supremely fertile at that, you want to keep your force field as pure as possible, so that you are creating and producing at a premium rate. Empress vibes. Again, Madam President herself, so to speak. That is the assumption of identity that you get to make if you choose to. Oh, here's choice itself with the Lovers. We're getting twofers today. Wow. Wow, the Lovers and the Four of Wands. Yeah, you control the house. At least yours. You control your space. You say what goes, what stays, what's planted, what is welcomed, and what is not. And then with the Lovers, again, coming off of the Empress, it's about, again, making that premium choice, that being very selective, because you hold yourself to a supreme standard. There are just certain things that you won't allow to take residence, literally residence, in your auric field, whether it be thought, emotion, ideal, projection, influence, whatever it may be. It's always, when it comes to the Lovers, there's always this regenerative commitment to choosing higher and higher and higher, to aspiring to higher and higher. And so therefore, of course, with each level of aspiration also is an elevated perspective and position of selectivity, because the higher standard you're holding yourself to, the greater expectation you have for whatever it is that you're attracting, or whatever it is that presents itself to be attractive to you. And we very much so could be talking about actual relationships here, given we got the Queen of Wands, we got the King of Cups, now the Lovers and the Four of Wands. We could be talking about that more specifically. Especially given like this season of anticipated, divine unions and partnerships that may be underway, or partnerships that are going, that are ascending to new levels, or being advancing in some way or another. It definitely matters to be very focused on what matters between the two of you, individually, of course, but also collectively here, and to really kind of keep your space sacred, whether it's just the commitment and understanding between you and whomever, and or the actual space that you cohabitate in, your actual home, you know what I mean? Like establishing a precedence in the spaces that you call sacred, that is law, that there is no, that you establish to be, the law of the land that you govern. And again, that could be actually physically, or it could be energetically or spiritually. And that's another way to keep your force field pure from the impurities that, are all over the place, that you can't help but at least observe, if not actually encounter, but what you establish to be real and true and solid for you, that's what stands. It's the stronger the will you have to, the stronger allegiance you have to it, is irrefutable as it can be, no matter what's going on outside of it. Let's see what's under here. Wow, no matter what's going on outside. So so it could be looking crazy. There's something about really zeroing in on the reality that you choose for yourself right now, because it's something about when you look around, and even, considering depending on what circles you're in, what environments you're in, there could be differing sentiments about today, and the determination of the election, let's say for specifically. You may be quite indifferent either way, honestly, but being exposed to differing opinions sometimes is what, as I'm saying, can be provocative for you to feel a type of way that you didn't even initially feel, or to invoke an energy within you that you weren't even cultivating, you know what I mean? Or to have you thinking in some type of lower frequency based on other projections and propaganda that never even crossed your mind before. Heavy on the thoughts, though, because we got the Ace of Wands. And that being very specific and practical, my point is that there's something about really having your senses stabilized and secured and grounded in what is true for you in a very unwavering way. Not to say you can't be open to other opinions and considerations, but there may be a lot swirling around right now, and perhaps even throughout this cycle of leadership. Unfortunately, there may always be like this brewing stew of stuff that if you allow it to be, if you allow yourself to get full off of it, you will. But if you refuse it, it may have absolutely nothing to do with you and the reality that you're creating and experiencing. So I'm saying that to say that for some people, it could be like a tower moment, like everything's falling apart. Oh no, what do we do? What's gonna happen? Type of energy, not just specifically to the election, but I'm just making it practical that way. But generally speaking, people could be having all types of sudden changes occurring that they don't feel prepared for or secure to withstand. All types of I would say even rude awakenings that they're experiencing because they may or may not be tapped into a higher source of intel or even know where, to actually find that resource at this time. A lot of times, as I'm saying, those energies, as we all share this force field, can be infectious and impressionable if your shield is not strong and your boundaries are not fortified in spirit and in truth. So anyway, you could be looking around or experiencing others that are either seeing their or encountering others that are either seeing their life experience this way or may actually be having a life experience such as this. But here you are at the Lovers and the Four of Wands. So it's like there can be a mutual coexistence of many realities, obviously, but even as we share energetic, real estate, so to speak, what's true for you to be strong-willed to have this experience no matter what may not even be attainable or a concept to, imagine for somebody that's having a tower. And really, it's a matter of what you allow your will and your sensibility and even your attention to be captivated by. That is it's important, not because you want to build up an energy of apathy, but because you do have so much to protect and so much to continue to sow and harvest and reap and create, that you really just don't have time to be caught up in things that don't have a direct effect on you really and truly, or that you don't have a direct responsibility for or a capacity to control. Because see, some people are jolted by their lack of control. But as I spoke about in the message yesterday, it's about allowance. That's really the power, when you can just allow things to be as they're destined to be. You doing your part all the while, and of course there's a balance and a dance between your allowance, as I say, your sovereignty and your submission, even within that. But for the most part, most people are devastated by the feeling of insecurity over things that they just can't control, can't stop, or can't change. And those that are grounded in what they do have authority over, which is the reality that you project and persist, and pursue, have liberty to focus in on that without feeling the obligation to necessarily be the savior for anyone else, or be the spokesperson for anyone else, or to be the confidant, or the the remedy or the elixir for anyone else either. You know what I mean? It's like you kind of have to just lead by example in this time, but certainly lead because what we definitely don't need is more folks falling in this frequency on account of what they are trying to assert control over, of which they have no jurisdiction. And that's a lot of times what's happening in the Tower card, is things that we've already been kind of cued to make a change or shift or pivot on, and there's been such a resistance to do so that the universe has to come in, shake things up in order for change to be reestablished. Some people handle those moments well and readjust and bounce back, and some people don't. And in the case of the election, some people are like, oh, well, all right, 4 years, let's see what happens. And some people are devastated. It feels like the end of America for them. And who knows? I don't, no one really knows. But that's the thing. You have to allow for fate to unfold as it's destined to do so. And the only thing that you can truly control is your truth and your insistence in that creativity of truth, your persistence in that creativity of truth. And the more people that, find comfort in that power and that privilege, the better off we'll all be to creating more of this energy here, where everything is working for your good. It doesn't matter if you have a little or a lot. As long as you have breath in your body, there's something positive to look forward to. Because you say so, So anyway, I was saying all that to say, like, you may look around and there are different experiences happening, or people are expressing different experiences. Don't let that jade the one that you're having because you feel like it's too fantastical, it's too good to be true, or maybe you should be feeling more angry or more afraid or more anxious or more eager or more anything than what you have, found formidable for you at this time. There's where the indifference comes in, that you have the right to assert the frequency that you find to be most fortifying if the rest of the world is crumbling around you. There's something safe about this Four of Wands. It's like a little sanctuary or oasis in the desert that, it took you a long time to get to. Well, now I got two of these, damn it. Damn, it's throwing my whole row off. But yeah, it took a long time to get to this. It's a great achievement and accomplishment to get to this realization of harmony and balance, maybe even a prosperous relationship itself, right, as it came out with the Lover's card, or even a good relationship with yourself, where you have cultivated a deep understanding and affinity and love for yourself that is that allowance, that, it comes first from within before anything. Like, you allow things to be for you within you. You allow yourself to be, to blossom, to become, to evolve naturally. And that frequency is transferred and transmitted outside of you. That's a big achievement and accomplishment in this world climate, So you wouldn't want to jeopardize that for propaganda's sake, or for projection's sake. What's true for you can be exclusive and sacred, even if no one else is experiencing it. All right, so now we got, this is like release from spiritual prison. That's what this is. Like busting out, breaking out. Some choose to stay confined because it's safer in there. It's safer to feel, comforted by those hyper active emotions and sentiments. It's safer to feel helpless or like, the world, that life is happening to you and not for you. It's safer to feel like a victim at times. It's safer to feel dependent or like you can't trust yourself with yourself. Sometimes it actually does feel oddly secure in that spiritual confinement, but it really is an illusion, just as much as it is that this person is bound at all, because we know with the Eight of Swords, it's a self-imposed imprisonment. It's not absolute and it's not final. So again, for those that choose otherwise, to see the hope for their future and the best possibilities, and to trust themselves and trust themselves with the divine, above all else, there is no confinement secure enough to keep you bound from advancing and evolving in a very accelerated way. And again, coming off of that Tower card, that means other people could be experiencing this and then some. But as for you and your house, it's onward and upward in a way that it may not even make any damn sense, for real, even to you. Like, how is the majority of the nation in anguish about life as it is, and I'm over here thriving? Not to say not a care in the world, because those of us that truly have a heart for people will always have a care, but not to be so easily so negatively influenced and impacted by those circumstances, for it almost to like be non-existent to you and your reality. Now, as I've said, you are the centric focus. It's like if you got to break yourself out and secure your liberty before you could really do anything to help anyone else, if that even is your calling, in a hands-on way. But what we all have the privilege to do is to lead by example, as I keep saying. So when you are broken free, somebody else observes that, witnesses that, and then it sets them on the path to want to find their own liberation. And also for those of us that are creating and building and visualizing, this brave new world, you're not just doing it for you, or this lover's card wouldn't even be on here. You know what I mean? And accelerated progression is getting behind those that aren't self-serving exclusively, those that are, serving themselves for the sake of others, that are working on being the best that they can possibly be so that they can enhance their efforts and their achievements, of which do have a greater impact on perhaps the world at large, or at least on community or on others, on someone else, even if it's just your own legacy. Those are the ones that are really being, supremely endorsed at this time anyway, and advanced and protected in their endeavors. So when I'm saying things like, you got to just secure it for yourself first, it goes without saying that those that resonate with that, you're already working in a space where it affects someone else positively anyway. Those energies just go hand in hand if you resonate with it. So I hope that that's clear. But anyway, that's why it's so important to protect your perspective, because your persistence ultimately is the path of savior type energy, but not because you're going back and martyring yourself for the sake of others, but because you're paving a path of prosperity for someone else to either follow or to greatly benefit from. So if you get caught up in the illusions or delusions or distractions, then who's doing the work? You know what I mean? Like, who's getting it done and doing it well at that? Nobody. And whatever it is that's getting done is not getting done in the highest frequency of the aces, which would be, in this case, truth. But we saw the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles yesterday. We need like supreme success, like elite excellence, actively innovating our creative experiences, not the same old run-of-the-mill recycling of the old. So to truly be innovative and a trailblazer, you gotta secure your reality and make sure that it's locked down like Fort Knox from any lower frequencies that would want to taint it, because that's the foundation that you're building upon. So even those tower moments that may be experienced with the best intentions is for the clearing of things that are no longer of service or no longer productive. So only the most fortified materials can remain to build that foundation, of which all of creation in some way, shape, or form is depending on. No pressure, Wheel of Fortune. Exactly, like all of creation, this is evolution on the line. Here it is, fortifying those boundaries, taking a stand, making establishing a standard, setting yourself apart, distancing yourself from distractions and distortions of reality. Like all of that is in the Seven of Wands, everything that I spoke of. And that can be on an intimate scale, in an intimate way, meaning people in close proximity, maybe you don't need to have conversations around the water cooler or in the break room about the state of the union as it is. Maybe you need to excuse yourself from things that lower your frequency from your most optimistic perspective. Maybe friends, maybe family, you know. I was out and about one day, and this was before the actual election, and everybody was having this like free for all. You know, black people generally, they just talk liberally about their political views. They don't be all secretive for the most part, and everybody was just going off, and I didn't have anything to say, but I was just sitting there listening, you know, and some things were just like ridiculous, of course. Some things were like, okay, I can understand how you feel that way. But generally it was just like I said, a big stew of emotions and passions and opinions and perspectives, and each person was kind of building on the other person, and you know, and I'm just sitting here like not affected by any of it, because again, I'm indifferent to it all. But if I were so impressionable, you know what I mean? That's the point, I think, of this. There's so much going on, and I'm just out minding my business. I didn't ask for this conversation, you know, and so maybe if you can't set certain boundaries in a physical way, you know, in an actual way where you literally remove yourself or distance yourself or separate, whatever, it definitely has to be mentally, it has to be energetically, it has to be emotionally, you know. And with as far as the pentacles are concerned, even what you lend your attention to even perk up and listen to, there has to be a standard and a boundary set, because there's just too much to sponge in that could be a distraction, or that could taint what you have going on, that, you know, would just be useless to have to filter out when it doesn't even really directly pertain to you, especially not where your mind is. Like, this is a dharmic energy here with the Wheel of Fortune. And as I said, there are different experiences being played out now between karmic and dharmic, where some people are experiencing hella towers and some people are experiencing bliss, like real, you know, authentic bliss in their lives. So there has to be an establishment, a line of demarcation for you to live whatever that truth is, unapologetically and without disturbance. Whatever it is that you have yielded from this Seven of Pentacles sowing here, you know, whatever, and here it is, back to the beginning where I said it's something that's very sustainable, like it's lasting. So that we definitely could be talking about what's already being harvested from what was sown. There's that. But like I said, as long as there's breath in the body, you're still responsible for the seeds that you cultivate. So now is not any less of a poignant time to plant sustainably and to grow organically than any other has been. If anything, there's just more distractions and more distortions in the soil, impurities in the soil, if you allow there to be. But here again with the Wheel of Fortune, there's this allowance of fate to lead the way, and the only resistance that you really have to that you're accountable for is how you protect your personal energy for your highest good, or to be as well aligned with that fate and that destiny as you possibly can. And sometimes that means keeping some things out or keeping yourself out, respectively, of different spaces and places and engagements and opportunities and, relationships, friendships, jobs, conversations, encounters, it could be anything for you, but what you will know is the effect that it has on your energy and on your morale. That's what it is. I think that's what the King of Cups might be. Like your energy and your morale can't afford to take a hit on account of other outside projections. So if you can see fit to fortify your force field against those attacks or those impressions proactively, perfect. But at least reactively, when you start to sense that you're feeling affected or even feeling depleted in some way, you got to call yourself into action immediately to, realign yourself by a secure measure of distance, whatever that looks like for you. But it's more so about keeping your mind, because it's still a this or that thing, because like I said, this is karmic and it's dharmic. So whatever you're sowing into, whatever you're giving the most of your attention to, is what you are yielding for yourself for the next year, for the next 4 years, for the next 8 years, maybe for the next decade or two, perhaps for the rest of your lifetime, perhaps planting seeds for the legacy that is to follow you well after you're gone. So again, what fruit would you rather yield, knowing all that you know at this moment, knowing that every seed, every thought, every emotion, every opinion that you put into the ground of your own foundation has the potential to grow and sprout and, last for a long time. The one thing you have control over is what is planted. Maybe not the rate of produce or, the crop yielded per se, but you certainly can decide what you put into that soil. And also, at this point, what weeds get uprooted if need be. So do your due diligence, to make sure that the fruit that you're growing is the most organic and succulent it can possibly be, because you deserve for it to be that, and you have favor on your side with the Wheel of Fortune and your best and highest intentions. You already have the favor of the universe to advance that harvest. But it certainly is not without you having your hands on the plow to decide what is first planted and what isn't. Because otherwise, we allow the weeds to overgrow. The spirit has no place to spring forth the fruit that we really desire to have, what's really and truly sustainable for this season and every other beyond. You end up doing more work pulling the weeds than you actually do enjoying the produce, And I don't think that that's the will of the divine. The weeds are being uprooted and burned as we speak, as a matter of fact. So, 8 of Wands, as I say that. Ooh, confirmation. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.